So I just got a message that we're not live streaming. Um, I don't know how that could be because when I turned it on, I clearly heard both meetings going on at the same time. But and we are live streaming because I'm listening to myself now. So I don't know. So hopefully somebody can see it because I'm listening to it.
I think the link is wrong on our website, which is why.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Torres. I just don't want to not have it up there, but it clearly says on my screen that we are on YouTube. Um,
Oh,
it
yeah,
says we're on
no
YouTube,
problem.
and I don't know what to do if
Um,
there it is.
is
That's
Miss
YouTube.
Walker someone available to make sure that the link is correct?
She said she
It
sees
is.
it.
It is working.
She sees it now.
Oh, okay. All right, perfect. It must have been a glitch with the system. All right, well, thank you very much. Well, below we have the fiscal year 2026 budget parameters. On the left side, you'll see our strategic planning priorities. So for the focus of mathematics and reading performance for our special education students, our rationale is on the right. You will see that our students have been underperforming in the areas of math and reading for several years. This has been consecutive and a consistent issue. It is imperative that we close the gaps to ensure future success. For the next priority of focus on reading and mathematics performance of all Hollis students, Hollis has been underperforming when compared with similar schools with like demographics. We are currently in year 2 of the CSI list of state low performing schools, and we need to close gaps. For the third priority, develop a literacy and mathematics culture. Our rationale is that a robust and literacy mathematics culture is foundational to student success, empowering students to become critical thinkers, problem solvers, and engaged citizens. By prioritizing literacy and mathematics across all disciplines and grade levels, students will be equipped with the essential skills to excel academically and navigate a complex world and achieve their full potential. Ms. Fambro, do you mind clicking to the next slide? All right, so here we continue with the same, with more priorities. For the fourth one, leverage the WCI, which is the whole child interventions, to provide wraparound service and increase attendance and access to mental health support. Our rationale is that student success depends on their overall well-being. By leveraging the whole child interventions and wraparound services, it is essential to improve attendance and access to mental health support. So chronic absenteeism is an issue here, and it is linked to unmet need. Consistent attendance is essential to academic success, providing students with stability and support and learning opportunities. By integrating counseling, social emotional learning, and community partnerships, we create a supportive environment that removes barriers to learning. These interventions not only enhance student engagement and resilience, but also promote equity by ensuring all students have access to the resources they need to thrive academically and personally. For our fifth priority, improving leadership opportunities, developing leader capacity within existing staff cultivates a sense of ownership and investment in the success of Hollis. Empowering teachers and staff to take on leadership roles strengthens the distributed leadership and provides valuable professional growth opportunities. This model will foster a more collaborative and innovative school environment, ultimately benefiting school achievement. For our sixth priority, retaining top performing staff, of course, we want to have the best of the best here at Hollis. High quality staff is a significant in-school factor impacting student achievement. Losing effective educators disrupts the learning environment, creates instability, and aids costly recruitment and training process. Prioritizing staff retention ensures consistency in instruction, fosters strong student-teacher relationships, and provides a positive school culture and maximizes the return on investments in professional development. All right, we're ready for the next slide.
Yeah.
Okay, it's your turn.
Okay, Mr. Torres? Do you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll take the last one. I mean, I'm sorry, we were just trying to get that darn YouTube thing and I had it going in both ears and please forgive me.
You're good, you're good. All right, so for the next priority, provide multiple engagement opportunities to families. So we want to make sure that we're offering a variety of engagement opportunities. This will increase accessibility and allow families to connect with schools in ways that are meaningful and convenient. Increased family involvement is linked to improved attendance and academic performance.
That's your camera.
Now, we're leveraging school-based partnerships to support families. Families often face complex challenges that
I
impact
can at least
student
mute
success.
myself. Is that what you're saying?
Limited access, such as
I can't
poverty,
because
limited
I'm
access to
the one
resources,
that is the host.
language barriers,
Well,
and
I
etc.
actually think I am too, but we'll
Leveraging school-based
just
partnerships
turn
can
your
create
sound
a
off.
comprehensive support system for families. Okay. So here we have a review of the fiscal year signature and turnaround program from the process.
Hit that.
So we're gonna move on to our discussion items, okay? We'll now move into discussion items on our agenda.
What? They what? Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was a question. All right, our next agenda item is a budget feedback presentation. Principal Shea will walk us through their proposed school's budget draft. After the presentation, we'll have a discussion about the budget aligns with our school's strategic priorities. As we review the budget, it is important to focus on how any adjustments from the district's recommended funding support the school's goals. This opportunity for us as a goal team to provide feedback and ensure that our school is making the most of its available resources. And here I'm going to pass off to Principal Shea.
Okay, I had YouTube in my ear in my office and this, and so Ms. Fambro was trying to figure that out, but I'm gonna just keep going. Thank you, Mr. Torres, for kind of stepping in. So here we go. We have signature program funds and we have turnaround funds. The signature program funds is at 0 when I get my budget. And we had to come up with some, what are our needs for the signature program? So initially we asked for $411,312. We wanted 2 STEM teachers. We wanted a signature program CTAE teacher. We wanted to cover our membership fees to Cognia. And we also wanted to have supplies and resources.
we were approved for $216,000, which then we had to go back to the drawing board, look at what we had, and prioritize. The signature program now will have one STEM teacher that we will still get to cover our membership dues to Cognia, and we will get programming supplies and resources. What we didn't know at the time was that our CTAE teacher, which is a teacher for middle school, computer science, is paid for by the district. So we didn't have to pay for that person. So basically what we did not get was the extra STEM teacher. But there's a formula that the district uses, and it's all about how many kids we have in the building. So the formula said that this is what we get, 216,332, and we are going to use that money to do the things I just said. I'm ready. Turnaround funds. You want me to? Okay, hold on.
All right, thank you so much, Barbara Shea.
Okay. Let me do that. Okay, I am back at my own desk. Okay, hold on. Thank you, Ms. Fambro, for fixing that. Okay, so now we will talk about the turnaround funds. Turnaround funds are the same. It's the same kind of position that I was in. It was a zero bucket, and we had to again look at our strategic plan and ask for certain items to meet our needs as a school. We asked for $482,678, and we got $482,678. What we did was basically we had turnaround funds last year. And so if we didn't get that money back and I wasn't able to use it to keep the staff we already have, that of course would have been something we had to deal with. But luckily, we are keeping the same staff. We have turnaround specialists for math. We had a turnaround specialist for reading. We also asked for $40,000 for our web-based subscriptions, which honestly, we had trouble with at the beginning of the year because we didn't have any money on that line. So we wanted to make sure we had money on that line. Additionally, we still have our turnaround behavior specialist. So we kept all the positions that were in that came from that budget last year, and we have them now for the 25-26 school year. So when we look at the summary tab overview, we have earned positions that are given to us by the district, and there's no school level flexibility, which means I can't say we don't want it because we get those positions, and that's like CTAE. Now we know now that we are given that position and it's paid for by the district. We have funded positions. The district recommended staffing for positions where there's school level flexibility. We have positions that are funded, and then we have staffed positions, how the principal plans to staff the positions for the FY26 school year. The difference is the amount from the recommendation to our plan. And that's kind of where we are now. That's where things are going to get a little different for us next year. And one of the things that has impacted us is our enrollment. Our enrollment is slated to drop by 53 or 54 students. And next year, the student teacher ratio for Atlanta, for the district, it's changing. So kindergarten is going to be a 1-to-24 ratio. First grade will be 1-to-25. Second grade will be 1-to-25, third 1-to-25, fourth we go up to 30 students in a class to a teacher, fifth 30, sixth 30, seventh 30, and eighth 30. So those numbers have gone up a little bit this year for next year, and as you can see, the enrollment that we will have next year makes it it makes it impossible to keep 4 teachers on every grade level the way we did this year. The only grade level we had 3 teachers on was kindergarten, and that's because we lost a teacher due to leveling at the very beginning of the year. And because our enrollment was low, we still have small kindergarten classes. We have small classes all over the building, which is great. And actually, next year, we'll go to the next slide. So next year, this is the summary tab overview. And next year, we are staffed and funded for 3 teachers in kindergarten. So there will be no change in our kindergarten. In first grade, we are staffed and funded for 2 teachers. Right now, we have 4 first grade teachers. And I'm going to talk about that at the end. Let me just kind of run through these. Second grade, we are funded for 3, and we are only staffed for 2. Right now, we also have 4. And if you can remember the numbers from the slide before, they don't really, there's no way I can make a case for 4 teachers. Third grade, same thing. The bottom line is we will have 3 teachers in every grade level next year. And because we get EIP funds, that's what's giving us our 3rd position on each grade level, which is a great thing because our classes will still be tiny. Can you go back the slide that had the kids, had the numbers, just so people can see? So we will have 48, we are projected to have 48 students in first grade next year. And if we were using the 1 to 25 formula, that's 2 teachers. That is 2 teachers, and that is 2 teachers. We will be lucky enough to have 3. So our class sizes will still be small. We'll have an EIP class, which is a maximum of 14 students, and the other students will be divided among the 2 teachers. So our classes will not reach 25 unless we have a huge upsurge in enrollment, in which case they will give us more teachers. We will still have small class sizes next year. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that. As for middle school, we have been allotted 3 teachers for science, 3 teachers for math, 3 teachers for social studies, and 3 teachers for ELA, which means we will be able to have our 4-man teams in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade next year. And that's primarily because traditionally middle school is departmentalized and every teacher teaches a content. Now, I have been in situations before where we had smaller teams based on our allotment, but this year we have been allotted our full teams back, and we are grateful for that. Okay, so as you can see, we also have JROTC, and that is also a district position. So that will probably stay with us next year. We will be losing some teachers in connections, and of course, some classroom teachers. Those right now are positions. They are not attached to a person. HR has to work on that with me to figure out what people will be impacted by this. Hold on, let's go back to that slide. We will lose 1 assistant principal. We will lose 1 counselor. I mean, that's important because we don't have the capacity of students to earn those positions. Yes, we will have next year a full-time nurse. Right now we have a full-time nurse, but she is contracted. And next year we will hopefully have an APS person who works for APS and can work full-time because the contract people leave at 29 hours. Nothing really has changed here. We will have some other changes in the building, and they are yet to be determined in terms of who those people are. The positions aren't going to be here, and I cannot say with any kind of certainty who all is impacted yet, because that's something that I'm working on with HR. So if you look at our position changes for next year, we did earn the one STEM teacher. We will have an hourly parent liaison. We lost our parent liaison this year. I mean, she had to leave. She had some stuff going on in her family, and she had to quit. And we at this point have not filled that position. We are working on that with our social workers here now. They are kind of picking up where she left off. Next year, we will get an hourly person. And of course, we'll have the one school nurse. We had to remove one administrator, 3 instructional coaches, the special ed lead teacher, 1 counselor, 1 MTSS person, and 10 to 12 teachers overall. The special ed lead teacher was one of 2 special ed lead teachers, so we will still have 1 in the building. We will still have 2 counselors in the building, and we will still have the multi-tiered support specialist, the MTSS, because we also had 2 of those. And we will still have 2 assistant principals, and we will still have 3 instructional coaches. Ms. Balil, no, they don't get any extra pay, but we do. I mean, I do my best to give them time during the day to do the things that help us with the parent liaison. Thank you, though, and thank you for thanking them because it is a lot. And 10 to 12, we'll be losing 10 to 12 teachers. And of course, you understand that the changes that are made are in direct alignment with our enrollment. We get paid per child, and if we can't financially support it, then we can't have it. We have 2 counselors. We will have 2 counselors next year, just like we had in years past. This was the only year we've had a 3rd counselor. Okay. We're going to look at the non-staffing tab next, and that just shows you how funds are allocated for non-staff items. You know, field trips, supplies for the school, and I will show that to you. I think it's at the next slide. Yes. So the first thing you see on this slide is the reserve, and that is money we cannot touch. That is money that the district has already taken from our budget and put aside in the event at the beginning of next year when we look at our FTE counts and we have enough students or we don't have enough students, the district will say you have to lose a teacher, perhaps. That happened to us this year. Actually, the district told me I had to lose 3.5 teachers. And after a lot of back and forth, I lost 1. But they took money from us because we really didn't earn the teachers I was allowed to keep. So next year, if that happens, that allocation will help us hopefully keep that teacher. We can use that money to buy that teacher back if we do get in the position where we have to lose somebody. We have money on the line for district-funded field trips, but that's from the district. We have money on the line for teaching supplies and media supplies. We also have a $45,000 security grant, which we have to use for security. We got one this year. We got it late in the year, and we are using the $45,000 in this year's budget to cover cameras in all the learning pods. There were no cameras in those pods. The cameras primarily are in the halls of our school. And so we use that $45,000, or we are using that $45,000 to put cameras in every one of our learning pods. Next year, that $45 will still have to be used for security, but there's other things they can do, and probably the new principal will have a say in how that money is spent. Ms. Marielle, it does seem like a heavy caseload, but our numbers are they're low. And when we look at our student-teacher ratio, we're still going to be under the student-teacher ratio and make a case for small classes. We still have small classes. I said we were losing positions. I haven't said all the positions we're losing. And we're gonna do the very best we can to keep things as close to wonderful as we can. That would be the salary for an hourly parent liaison because it's a job without benefits. It's just an hourly position and they work 29 hours a week. I think that's everything on this one. We don't have any more hourly. Okay, and then this one is pretty much, we don't have anything on this one either. We don't have hourly positions, so you can keep going. So our funding priorities from the school strategic plan, we ranked them last time by the order of importance. We laid out it lays out specific objectives for our school improvement. And we ask ourselves what needs to be funded in order to support this strategy. So what funding did we need to do the things our strategic plan told us that we wanted to do? And is there a cost associated? So that's the next slide. So the strategies, of course, our strategic plan is focused largely on reading and math and largely on attendance and support for our students. We also want to improve leadership opportunities for our teachers. So in doing that, the one thing we requested extra was our 2 turnaround specialists. We had them this year. We found that they have been very valuable to us. And the amount that they cost us, this is $295,118. And that was the money that we asked in our turnaround budget. So they are covered and we have it. We want to develop a culture of literacy and math culture. We will link content areas to literacy and math. We're going to promote greater content mastery throughout all grade levels. And we're going to promote a greater understanding by incorporating STEM concepts and real world experiences. We are already doing that. We will continue to do that. That will not cost us extra money. It's just going to be part of the culture that we're hoping to keep creating. In terms of leveraging our whole child intervention, we want to implement a comprehensive whole child intervention approach that integrates the wraparound services, on-site wraparound services, accessible mental health support to address our students' holistic needs. We have people already, organizations here with us. We have Chris 180. We have our 2, well, right now we have 3 counselors. Next year we will still have 2. We will have a behavior specialist and we will have a school nurse. And that's probably $671,947 from our budget. So we're not asking for anything extra because we're using the resources that we already have. We want to improve leadership opportunities for our teachers or staff members that think they want to move into look at leadership options down the road. We want to pair our aspiring leaders with experienced mentors inside the school or inside the district. We want to do book studies on leadership that works, challenging coaching. We want to provide structured opportunities for observation, feedback, and skill development to cultivate future leaders in our building. This won't cost us anything because these things are provided by the district and, of course, here at school. We want to retain our top performing staff. We want to prioritize the creation of a supportive and rewarding work environment that recognizes the values and contributions of our top performing staff through competitive compensation, professional growth opportunities, leadership pathways, and fostering a culture of retention to ensure continued excellence in education. Our requests are incentives and staff rewards. We have incorporated that amount of money into our budget as well. We also want to provide engagement opportunities for our families. We want to offer diverse and accessible family engagement opportunities ranging from academic workshops, social events, volunteering, leadership roles to cater to family and cater to our family schedules, interests, and cultural backgrounds. That's why we're bringing back a parent liaison. We continue to have our social workers, our PTA support, and we have worked on those things this year, and we will continue to work on those as the year progresses. We have more things we want to do to increase our family engagement. That our parent liaison, of course, is going to cost us $20,003, and our 2 social workers come in at about 295, 118 already in our budget. We want to leverage our school-based partnerships. We have some wonderful partners that do many things for us, and we have 2 partners that provide us with funds, which honestly, I think I said it last week, without those partners this year, we wouldn't have had any money because we walked into a huge budget. I walked into a huge budget deficit, and digging out of that has taken the better part of this year. So we are opening a district food pantry. We already have the food pantry once a month, but our goal next year is to have food supplies here at school, non-perishables, that parents can come and get when they need something. So one of our goals is to increase that, and utilizing our APS hub, which has a ton of wraparound services for parents, lots of supports right down the street at the old Oglethorpe Elementary School, very close to us. And we are going to help people find out about that and all the things they offer. We are going to continue to strengthen our West Side Future Fund, Morehouse, Peachtree Road United Methodist, and our other partnerships, and Mercedes-Benz. And Peachtree and West Side Future and Mercedes-Benz have been the 2 partners that have given us money that we can spend on students, teachers, and we feel like we've been a very good steward of that money this year. So we hope to continue our partnerships. Okay. So this is just the budget by function, because basically the district wants us, when all is said and done, they want to make sure that the bulk of our money, over 50% of our money, is directly correlated with instruction that directly touches students. So this is kind of a breakdown. Our numbers are quite high for instruction. I believe the pie chart is next, maybe. This is our pie chart, and we are at 76% of our budget spent on instruction. And that is saying that we are prioritizing students and teachers, and the rest of the things are supporting that. But 76% of every dollar that comes into this building is directly connected to a child. And that is not easy, because lots of people like to have lots of extra things in their budgets, and we sadly had to pare that way down. And but we were determined to keep the bulk of our funding to our kids, because that's why we're here. Right now, I think I showed you that we have $121,724 on that reserve line in the budget, which we cannot touch. That comes in next year when leveling comes up, and hopefully we would be able to hold on to a teacher with that money in the event that we would have to lose one. So that's why that money is there. It's not quite what a teacher costs, but usually the district kind of works with us and if we make our case for keeping that teacher, they will take our money, but we will keep our staff. Mr.
Thank you,
Torres,
Barbara Shea.
thank you.
So thank you for that overview. Let's start by discussing and examining how the proposed budget supports our strategic priorities. Sorry. We want to ensure that it aligns with our school's plan while making sure that it is the best use of our flexibility. Keeping our focus on strategic priorities will help ensure any adjustments are intentional and support our goals. To guide our conversation, let's consider the following questions. So here we have the questions about strategic alignment and school flexibility. So we have, does the budget proposal as a whole effectively support our school strategic priorities? How does our principal's proposed changes directly support priorities in our strategic plan? Can we clearly connect each adjustment to one of the goals? So these are things I want you guys to be thinking about right now. If new positions, resources, or programs are being added, what data or feedback supports these changes? How will we measure the impact? And what trade-offs are involved? Are any current programs, resources being adjusted or reduced? And how will that affect our students and staff? So I
So
want you
take
to
a
take,
moment to make sure
yeah,
that
take a
you
moment to digest.
soak in these questions, and we will begin to discuss. So I know we had some comments in the chat. This is our time to answer these questions on our own and actually give feedback, because this is a feedback meeting. So take your time, and Mr. Torres will let us know when it's time to start the discussion.
Okay, I would give you guys about maybe a few seconds just to really digest it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Okay, so for the first question, does this budget proposal as a whole effectively support our school strategic priorities? Let's focus on the first question to begin. So did the budget proposal as a whole effectively support the priorities? Any thoughts?
Second, Ms. Baker, what I'm gonna do is copy and paste the question, because I don't want people to lose what we're trying to answer. So I'm gonna copy and paste the question in the chat, and then I would definitely go back to the priorities. Is that okay? Okay, so 1 second, because I gotta copy it and paste it, so give us a moment.
Okay, while you guys are thinking about that, I do remember off the top of my head, for example, our first one would be the mathematics and literacy support for DSE students. The second one was for all students, and the third priority was developing a culture of mathematics and literacy throughout the school. So
I
those
would
were
say
top.
yes. I would say yes, it does. They do support the strategic, your budget does support the strategic initiatives. Additionally, I know that this wasn't really on there, but I like that even with the budget cuts, y'all are able to keep the wraparound services.
Thank you. That is actually one of our priorities as well. I believe that was 4 or 5. I just can't remember the exact number.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Pambro, for copying and pasting those questions.
So remember, the questions are in the chat, and this meeting is about feedback. So the more feedback we get, the better off we'll be in the budget development process. So take a moment to I know it's a lot, but you're gonna have to look at the chat and look at the strategic plan.
Give everyone a moment to review before we move on to the next question. All right, does anyone have any feedback about question number 1?
I have just a in general question. Since we are reducing the amount of teachers in elementary, how are you going to be dividing up the core subjects? Because I think that's going to impact workload for teachers. And I know typically like one teacher teaches math, or is it like is it self-contained? So do they teach all subjects to their students, or are they going to be kind of partially departmentalized? Like, how is that going to look next year? And I'm asking that question because our priority is reading and math. But if we're reducing the amount of teachers we're going to have on each grade level, then that means somebody's going to have to pick up the slack of the subjects that are not being taught. So what is that going to look like next year?
Well, in most K-5, well, let's just say K-4. K-4 classes, we're not departmentalized. So most elementary school teachers are able to teach every content. We're kind of putting the cart ahead of the horse a little bit because we're still working on that piece. But we know in elementary school that every one of the elementary school teachers can teach every content. So it would be 3 classes where, I teach math and reading and science and social studies. We also have the STEM science teacher that we're going to be using, but I don't think it's going to increase the workload for the teachers that are used to teaching all the contents. I mean, that's mostly the model.
Okay.
5th grade, it may be a little different. 4th grade, it may be a little different, but for the most part, no, it shouldn't impact them like that. But that's part of our planning for curriculum for next year.
Great, thank you.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for asking.
All right. Any other comments? If not, we'll move on to question number 2. All right. Thank you. So the second question I see here, if the district has allocated funds for specific initiatives, for example, signature programs, how are those reflected in our budget?
I'm sorry, can you go back to the signature programming slide? I should have been taking pictures, I'm sorry.
One second, I'm getting there though. 1 second.
Thank you.
Is this it?
Yes, that's it, thank you.
I can't hear.
Thank you, Ms. Fambro. That's correct.
Okay.
So again, if the district that has allocated funds for specific initiatives, for example, signature programs, so that would be the 2 STEM teachers, the CTAE teacher, how are these reflected in our budget? Do we have any feedback?
Well, we asked for 2 STEM teachers. We were allotted funding for one.
One, correct.
CTAE, then we found out the district would pay for, so that was really great news. And then with still Cogni and still programming supplies and resources.
So Ms. Green says we have the STEM teacher allocation and the CTAE teacher. That is correct. We want to keep that STEM teacher, especially being a STEAM school, trying to keep that focused. Any other feedback?
What would
Okay,
be
so then,
some of the programming supplies and resources that would be a part of the approved funds allocations?
Anything we need for signature programming, it could be platforms, web-based platforms, it could be STEM scopes, it could be any of the things any extras that we really didn't count on needing. We will have money set aside for those things.
and for those of you guys who don't know what STEM Scopes is, that is a science curriculum, and it comes with a bunch of resources so that way we could do labs, and also has a virtual aspect as well. So it's very interactive for the students.
So all of this is being pulled out of that 216?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, we did ask for the 400,000, but we were only approved for the 260. All right, so for the next question, if we are sharing staff positions, how will this affect student support and service delivery at our school? I believe our only hourly position will be the parent liaison. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And I see that we have nurse, counselor, teachers. I do not remember any of them being part-time. I believe all of them will be full-time. Is that correct, Reverend Shea?
We are not sharing anybody. No, they will be with us for every hour that they work. They were
Okay,
there.
so those questions are non-applicable.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Did we go through all of these questions? No, not some of these. Okay, so we went through the next. So how do our proposed changes directly support priorities in our strategic plan? Can we clearly connect each adjustment to an example? Is there any other remaining feedback? Anyone else, or are we ready to move on? Okay, I think we went through those questions, Miss Fambro. Yeah, because that's with the staffing positions.
So did we go through all of them? My computer and
I'm trying to see. I don't think we went through all of these ones. The third one, if new positions or resources are being added, what data or feedback or supports for these changes? So that would be, for example, the hourly parent liaison and I think that was about it. There may have been one other thing. How will that measure impact? Any feedback on that one? Barbara Shea, we have a question in the chat asking how many students are currently in the building. I know our projection for next year is 540s, but
We have about 550, 597 right now. And I mean, it's a very fluid number. And but we stay there and maybe 615. But we go up and we go down. So yes, and we're slated to lose about 54 students next year. That's the projections based on whatever the formula is that they use.
okay. And then the last question to see if we have any more feedback. If you guys are typing up any lingering questions, please feel free to post it. What trade-offs are involved? Are any current programs or resources being adjusted or reduced? And how will that affect our students and staff? Is there any feedback for that last question? So Ms. Balil has shared the trade-off educators they place in other parts of the school, or are they placed in other parts of the school? So Barbara Shea could correct me if I'm wrong on this one as well, but that really depends on our certifications. So if hypothetically, they only need one teacher for special education in 8th grade, Barbara Shea may look at my certifications and say, hey, Mr. Torres, I see you're also certified in elementary school. Can you move over to this position? So it really depends on the flexibility. We also have to wait on what our staff's intentions are and if they intend on coming back. So when we get all of that data and information, we will be able to look at that and adjust accordingly. Is that correct, Barbara Shea?
Yes, that's pretty close. I mean, there's yes, that's pretty close. There may be some things that come up and we have to put out for interviews. But usually we try to hold on to who we have if we can. It's a process, and that's why downtown has to give me the list of people that are up for not being here next year based on seniority. And then we'll go from there.
Any other last feedback? All right, if anything comes up, please feel free to post it into the chat. As a Go team, we have the opportunity to provide input on this budget before it moves forward. If we believe adjustments are needed to better align with our strategic plan, we can propose and discuss them now. Once we conclude our discussion, we will take a vote on the drafted budget. Oh, there is another question. Ms. Walker has asked how the individuals responsible for estimating the loss of students next year is factoring in the community development in Vine City and English Avenue. Ooh, that's a good question.
Okay, say that, I didn't say, Ms. Walker, do you want to come off mute and ask that question? Because I didn't hear it all.
Certainly. My question is, the individuals that are responsible for factoring in the estimated loss of students for Hollis, are they also factoring in all of the development that's going on in English Avenue and Vine City with the apartments, the fair market housing? It's about 15 to 20 new houses being developed right now through Westside Future Fund and the Land Trust. Also, there are about 12 new apartment units going up that can house 10 or more families at one time. So I wonder, are they factoring in that development that's meant for families to stay and meant for new people to come to the community?
Right. I would like to say yes, they are, but I can't tell you that with 100% certainty. But they use formulas that they've established, taking into consideration also that we have quite a few charters in our area, and that we lose kids to our charters. So that's a fabulous question. And I can ask downtown and see if we can get some more information and let you know if what is the formula they use to decide that we're going to lose this many kids. That's a great question. And I will, by the next meeting, hopefully have a better answer for you. Thanks, Ms. Walker.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Walker. That was a really good question.
You're welcome.
Okay. After this meeting, Principal Shea will take the approved draft to the cluster superintendent and the HR staffing conference. Following those meetings, we will meet again to review any final updates and vote on the school's final budget recommendation. So our next meeting will be in 2 weeks from now. Oh, we have another question. What happens if enrollment shifts up instead of down? Will more staffing be approved, or is this it?
Absolutely. If we need a teacher because our numbers exceed a certain formula, then yeah, they would come back and give us a teacher. Absolutely. So if we have this huge influx of students, that certainly would be taken into consideration. Yes. Thank you, Ms. Baker. That's a good question, but yes.
And that is a great point, Ms. Billio, as well. We can grow Hollis by improving the test scores. All right. So thank you, Principal Shea, for sharing that information. I will now entertain a moment to approve the draft budget.
Motion.
A second?
I second it.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye. All opposed, please say nay or raise your hand. Any absentations, please identify yourself or raise your hand. All right, thank you. We will now move on to information items. First is the principal's report.
Hey, I just want to make a comment about this whole process. I've been a part of this process several times now, and it's never been easy, but this is probably one of the hardest for me. Losing that amount of money, $2.8 million from our budget, was truly difficult, and none of the decisions made have been easy decisions to make. They've been horrible decisions to make. Anytime someone loses a position, it's not good. They will get priority in hiring and interviewing, but it's a very hard place to be. I know I'm not the only principal in the district that's facing this issue, but for me, it's just very difficult. So I appreciate the questions that were asked tonight. I appreciate the clarity you were looking for, and I will find out about how they decide that we're losing kids and what are the factors they take into consideration. We are out of school next week. That is a wonderful thing for the principal to say. The kids have a week off. Many of us will be here. My administrative staff, myself, will be here next week, or be working next week. And I just appreciate that you took the time and that you asked such thoughtful, wonderful questions. And I thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Barbara Shane. Thank you so much to everyone who shared and gave feedback. We have reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time?
So I did just want to reiterate some things that's on the screen. All approval meetings must be held after staffing conferences, which when is our staffing conferences, Principal Shea?
And they're on the 26th of February, which I believe is also the day of our next meeting, correct?
Yes.
So I have that meeting is that morning, I think, or early afternoon. And that's where I have to present the budget and defend the budget. So I will have more information for you Wednesday evening.
Perfect. All right. So the budget has to be approved by March 15th, and we have another Go Team meeting coming up. And that has been posted and we discussed it in our last meeting. And then I just wanted to talk about what's next, which we kind of talked about it already, but I want you to see it as it is presented with dates. So the cluster superintendent will review it during those dates. HR and staffing conferences, you just heard Principal Shea say when those are. And then at the bottom, we will actually vote on the final budget recommendation before March 14th. Because remember, per the last slide, it has to be approved by March 15th. So just keep those dates in mind. Remember, our Go Team meeting dates are posted on the Hollis website. And that is all I have. Mr. Torres, take it on out.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Mambro. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
A second?
I second. Monica Taylor.
Thank you. All in favor, please raise your hand. Or say aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay or raise your hand. Any absentations, please raise your hand and identify yourselves. Thank you very much. It was a wonderful time. Meeting is adjourned. The time is 6:07. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Have a great night, everyone.
Have a great night.
Thank you very